Okay, the purpose of Zend engine. So PHP runs on Zend engine. Okay, so what it does is, as soon as somebody requests for a PHP file, the Apache server will tell the Zend engine, okay, dude, that's this guy is requesting for a PHP file, so you take care of it. You just divide the HTML and PHP, then try to convert that PHP into opcodes. Okay, opcode is nothing but a kind of interpreting the business logic. So opcode, optimize the opcode, then again combine this HTML and PHP again, then render back to my browser. So what typically happens here is the Zend engine will convert our so-called PHP code and gives back to our Apache server. Okay, so Apache server will just give it back. Oops. Give it back to the browser. So again, whatever it may be, it's again a HTML file. So this gives HTML file back. So this is again a request, and this is response. So this is called a response. Alright, so now fine. Now I said, see, typically it has HTML file and PHP logic. Now if it has some database, now let's say it has some database connection. So this is database connection. Typically we use MySQL. Okay, I'll explain the Zend engine in a while. Yeah, the web server, it's via server. Okay, server is this is just a computer. So even my computer can be a server. This is just a computer. I don't know, how do I rotate this guy? Okay, this is the only option I got here. Okay, so it's been installed. Apache is been installed in its computer, so that's the reason I call it a server, because my code resides on that particular server. Yes, exactly. So the web server, this is the web server, and that is just, it's called server. That is just because it's a remote machine. It's just a remote machine. That's the reason. Now I'll show how my computer can act as a server too when I install Apache, just PHP and MySQL. Okay, so it's just a computer wherein Apache has been installed. That's it, and it's remotely placed. This guy is hosting. He has all the network layers and all the stuff, and this guy is hosting. So it's a remote server. That's it. That's the reason it's called server, and this is called a client because it's your system. Okay. Now let's assume that there is a database connection too. We need the database too. So what happens is, meanwhile, Zend engine passes the code. So it feels like, okay, there's a database connection. So it connects to database and gives back the data. So again, Zend engine will somehow put the database data and combines the HTML, whatever it catches previously, it gives back and sends back again as a response. So now this time there's a database involved. Now sometimes I want to send an email. Let's say I want to send an email. So that's a mail server, SMTP server. So if I say send a mail using PHP, what it does is it contacts the SMTP server, sends an email, and if you want a response, okay, this will say, okay, mail has been sent. So yeah, I get the response and I tell the same to the browser or to the Apache server, and Apache server then transforms that particular piece of code to my browser. Right? So now if there are some third-party tools, you see these SMS gateways, payment gateways. So payment gateway resides on a different server. Now if I have to contact some APIs, let's say API again is a different application programming interface. So that's again a third party. So whatever the third party which is not inside our Zend engine, like let's say, as I told you before, PHP just acts like a bridge. It only makes connections. Okay, since these guys cannot physically have connections, they need some software to make these connections happen. So that's where our PHP is useful. So if there is any third party API or gateways or whatever, it connects, get the response, get the response. So I'll say third party. Okay, it can be an API or gateway, whatever. Alright. So typically this is what happens in our whenever we request for something. So we don't need this. Maybe sometimes people, when you go for an interview, people may ask like, how does the internet work? So yeah, this is the way. If they dig deep into it, sometimes people ask, how does an Apache web server work? What happens as soon as you click this? How does a DNS server work? When somebody asks that question, just tell them, I'm not a network engineer. I'm just a PHP developer. So I know there are people who ask these kind of questions. Hey, do you know how this internet? No, dude, I just code. Ask me logic. Ask me how Google works. I'll tell you. Alright. So, any questions here? Kavita, do you have any questions? Great. No, I'm not sorry. You can call me. I forgot. Do you know my name? Not Taufik. Kavita, do you know my name? Do you know what we do? At least I hope you know. That's the reason you are here. But still, do you have any idea? Yes? So let me just upload a picture which I've just downloaded, the Zend engine, how Zend engine works. So it may take a while. So yeah, this is it. This is a typical Zend engine architecture. What happens? So what happens is, you see a HTML, a PHP file. A PHP file not just has PHP, it has HTML content too. Okay, so what it does is it separates the HTML content and it looks for these tags. Okay, so PHP code will be written inside these two. I say I don't call them as tags. So those two, what I call, I can't call words, maybe characters. I didn't think about this thing. What they're called actually. So PHP code goes here. Okay, when you have this type of code in your file, the file's extension must be .php. So until now we've been using only .html, .css and .js extensions. Now PHP files, whatever the content it has, if it has these two, this particular code, then it should end with .php. The file extension should be .php.